Hello there, this is Software Sensei, and welcome back to a brand new video. And today's video, I'll be demonstrating you on how to add margins in CSS. So enough talk, let's get it. Okay, so what is margins? So margins are used for the elements that spaces around in between them, making sure that the elements are clear and more concise, and it's well formatted, which means that, for example, the text here in the paragraph text will be separated from the rest of the text. So if I use break text or break out the text, which is that margins. Margins will basically specify the elements in between them and making sure that it's in the right position. Okay, let's create a div ID. We'll say margin, and another like div ID will specify this one as margin as well. So we'll do that. We'll say first one will be margin 1, then second one will be margin 2, and the third one will be margin 3. There we go. Okay, so let's style the CSS. So because we're creating an ID, which means that if we create an ID, we have to use a hashtag. So hashtag which represent the ID once we create a class. But once we do, let's say for example div class, then we use a dot. Now let's use, in this case we'll use hashtag, and let's say we'll call it margin 1. Okay, so let's specify the margin. So I'll say height will be, actually we'll say border will be 1 pixels solid. Okay, color, okay, actually we'll say height will be 200 pixels, and then width again will be 200 pixels. And this time let's do border radius. I will say 5 pixels or 10 pixels. The yeah, 5 pixels will be enough. Good. And then let's use 3 pixels actually to make sure. Yeah, that's good. And color will be, we could pick any color if you want. So using the RGB value, we'll specify green or green, white. And then okay, once we have done that, let's put background color. Let's use blue and pick any color you want. Okay, cool. So this is the first margin. Let's copy and paste the second margin, and as you can see here, the colors now has been, it's now, it's the same as the margin number 1. So let's edit and make some few changes and change the, slightly, and now it's green now this time. And then now copy and paste and edit the background color if you wish. I can maybe edit the background color, and there we go, now it's blue. Let's change the font family to sans serif. Font family to this, and now copy this to margin number 2 and margin number 3. There we go. This is what the margin looks like. We haven't specified the margin yet, but now we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so this is how the background color, we talked about backgrounds where we specified the background color, and as well as the border, we'll look through borders, and I give the height to 200 pixels and width 200 pixels, and change the background color slightly, and the border radius I changed to 5 to make sure it's the same technique and it's more consistent as well for margin 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so earlier on in this video we talked about margins. Margins is basically spaces around the element, but for padding is something different. Padding is where it's spaces inside of the element, inside of the boxes here. So in this case, I added this add the padding to 10 pixels. This is padding, by the way, so makes it 20 pixels, make it more visible. And yeah, this is what padding looks like. So hopefully you will not get confused because padding is something different, but margins are spaces, basically spaces around inside of the element. So in the border of the page, so web page. So for example, normally I'll use the asterisk. I'll do margin your assets to 0, and this is what margin looks like because it's just spaces out on the other side of the around element. So just there. And padding is basically inside of the div text or ID. So inside of the container, let's say for example. So let's pick the text to look visible. Okay, let's put the text on the header as well to make sure. There we go. And this is what margin looks like. Okay, so I've not finished yet for this video. There is still more, but this bit is where I can display margin to top. We can display margin top, which means that if I can display to 20 pixels, that means that there is not much change, and as well 20 pixels is too low. Let's make it to 100 pixels. Margin top, and yeah, there is change this time because margin top is literally at the bottom compared to that. And look, if I put to, let's say for example, 10 pixels, it goes down. 20 pixels, again goes down. 100 pixels, again, it just goes down 10 pixels each. Let's do margin right. So margin right is 100 pixels. There's not much change, but that's doesn't matter. Let's put margin right to 150 pixels. Okay, and also margin left, we'll say 100 pixels left. And then right, margin right, we'll say 60 pixels. There's not much change right at the moment this time. It just shows that margin, actually number 1 has few changes on the left section and the top, but the right, but on the, actually let's put to bottom, not margin to all, but bottom. Let's put bottom to 150 pixels, and yeah, there's a huge gap for bottom. So I display margin bottom to 100 pixels to test out, to experiment, to see what the margin will look like, and according to it, it has a huge difference, a huge milestone, huge gap in context. So let's do the same for margin number 2. We'll copy this and copy and paste this, and we'll make slightly some modifications, some adjustments. So margin top will be 10 pixels, let's say for example, or 50. Margin left will be 60, and right will be 20. And yeah, there we go. Bottom has not much change compared to margin number 1, where I display bottom 150 pixels, and margin number 2 I display margin bottom 50 pixels and the top I change to 10. And yeah, let's do for margin 3, same for margin 3. So again, 3 changes, 150, 110, I don't know, 160, and I don't know, 220. And yeah, margin 3 has huge difference because I style 110 pixels, top, bottom, left, right. And so yeah, in summary, margins are basically based on the website in the whole background page. So it's basically means spaces around an element. So around here in the web page. And this is how we demonstrate what margins look like in borders, in each border. So one border, second border, third border. Yeah. And final bit for margin, we will display margin to 20 or 100%. And for margin number 1, I don't know where margin number 1 is. Potentially, actually, I displayed all margin. Actually, here's margin number 1. It's display is 100%. It's all the way at the end. It's across the end, and it's put to 50 pixels or 50%. Yeah. So margin number 2, margin to 20%. Margin will be 10%. So yeah, for margin number 2 for 20%, not much of a difference. Because if I put 100%, it will be all the way across the end of the web page. And for margin number 2, if I put 2, let's say for example 20 pixels, will be slightly at the end, but closely. But no margin number 3, if I put to 10, it's just differences. It's just 10% difference. But those are the differences for margins in the percentage. I'm going to wrap up this video today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit a like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a video. I'll be uploading more CSS content to come. So stay tuned for that. This is your boy Sylvester Sai. I'm out. Peace.